Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Cube Simplify and the Cloud Native Sustainability Week 2024. Very excited for this edition as well. So, if you don't know, Cloud Native Sustainability Week is celebrated not only on Cube Simplify. This is just one little part of it, but there are all events all over the places that have started, and it will be happening in person and virtual as well. So, a lot of events happening across the globe about this week, explaining about tech, sustainability, the CNCF ecosystem, how stuff works, what are some of the tooling, implementations, best practices, use cases within the organizations, and so much more. And as part of that, we did it last year, and did the same thing last year as well, and this year as well we are doing. So we have three streams lined up. One is today, which is with Leo, who is co-chair of the CNCF TAG sustainability. And today we'll be setting the context, setting the base of what exactly all this is, what it means to you from the tech standpoint, and how you can get involved, which is the most important thing. And then tomorrow we'll be discussing about WebAssembly and sustainability from Kate. And then we'll be discussing and within Kubernetes how some of the challenges can be solved with Lucas. So yeah, I love this week, and I love doing this again. And Divya found some time, and we made it happen at the last minute. Very difficult it was, but we finally made it happen. And also thanks to Leo, who just switched jobs and still is with us and doing this particular stream. So Divya, over to you. Just a little bit of introduction of yourself, and then we'll move to Leo.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Sayam, yet again on this live stream. It was a blast doing it last time with so many of our esteemed guests, and I'm sure this time around as well, it's going to be great as well. So I'm not going to ramble like I normally do on live streams. I'm Divya Mohan, and I work as a principal technology advocate at SOSA. Um, in the cloud native ecosystem and in the wider open source ecosystem, I do a bunch of things. Um, I'm a maintainer and a contributor to Kubernetes and the WebAssembly ecosystem. I'm also the lead for Chaos Asia. But today I'm as intrigued as you, the viewers, are because we have not only the co-chair of TAG Environment Sustainability, but we also have the tech lead, by the way. Sayam, you forgot to say that. I'm sorry. Somebody has to say that on the live stream. But Sayam here is the tech lead. So we have two very authoritative folks from the Cloud Native Tag Environment Sustainability Group to talk about environment sustainability. So I'm as intrigued as you folks are. And I'm passing it over to you, Leo. Please introduce yourself and give us a bit of context, and maybe we can dive right in after that.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Divya. Yeah, my name is Leo. I started in the Kubernetes community in the release team. 1.23, I believe, was my first cycle I contributed to. And then I sort of moved through the release team stages, learned about the community and how it works. And I think it's still fascinating, like how open source actually works. It's possible to, in such a chaotic system, to actually produce some kind of software which runs. And then after I also led one of the Kubernetes releases, 1.26, I kind of thought about like, what is the next thing? Where could I contribute to? And I think it was like always surprising to me that sustainability, which is like such a big topic of our generation or in general, like the entire transformation of sustainability is not really like a topic in software, but software is so much like shaping our world. Why do we not think about this, and what would be the first steps? And I thought, like, especially like in an open community like the CNCF, which is like very open in terms of let's start a new project and build something new, and you can apply to a CNCF project. And you can also do the same thing in terms of starting a community group and thinking about, okay, for example, AI and sustainability right now is like one of our projects, and people are just interested in the topic because of obvious reasons, I guess. And this was also the case after I led the community release team, and I searched for the next topic, and we found the tech environmental sustainability. And yeah, that's sort of like the history, and that's now 2.5 years ago. So the tag is still a baby in a way, but we have a little bit of a bigger community since the beginning. So I think we are doing very well. I think we are still like in the pioneering stage. A lot of questions we still need to ask, and then we need to find answers to those questions. But we're on a good path, and yeah. Should I say more about myself? I'm now I switched jobs this month, so I'm now working at a new company. So very exciting times. A lot of different stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah, thank you, Leo, first of all, for doing this, and thanks, Divya, always for being my partner in crime for the Sustainability Week. It's great to start the week with the introduction to the tag sustainability and what the tag is doing in the CNCF ecosystem. So, first of all, when sustainability comes into the mind, usually people think about all the stuff, all the hard work that is required for reducing the carbon emissions, and many of them have heard about sustainability when there is the Apple event and they talk about carbon neutral things by 2030, and then planting of the trees, all these things. But here, the stuff that we are trying to focus is on the tech side of things and how we can get the tooling at each level of from packaging to deploying the whole life cycle, and use some of the tooling to create an impact. And I think as software engineers, software developers, it's important because when we write a piece of code and we can do optimize it to make it better for the environment, I think many people would resonate with that, especially this in the software ecosystem. Many people resonate with that, and then they tend to think, okay, yes, yeah, this is something we can also adopt. This is the tool that we can also incorporate in us in our in our whole ecosystem of tooling that we use. So that's what we'll be discussing today. So Leo, so first would be like what is the first, why we celebrate or why we do this Cloud Native Sustainability Week? What is this all about?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think like the core element of a community is to talk about topics in a way like that we learn from each other, know how you use certain tools, how you see certain problems and which problems you encounter and how you find problems to those solutions. And that's in the core, like also the goal of the event, that we try to have a very broad approach in the community, that we have community members all around the world. At least that's our goal, to engage as many different perspectives from different backgrounds, companies, cultures, and so on and so forth. Right? Sustainability is like a global problem, and energy nets and whatever. It's very different, and people think about these problems also very differently. So connecting all these different people with each other is sort of the goal, that we share our learnings, that we record, for example, meetings or however you like to choose, write blog posts or do online streams, and that we connect people to talk about this. So advocacy, sharing our knowledge, and so on and so forth, and also getting people aware of this area. It's still like a small area. It's not something where you have like dedicated engineers and experts for sure in your team, but I think people are interested in it, or are interested maybe in their outside IT life in sustainability topics, and this can also play a role in engineering, or it should be in the future, and that's what we are all about. Yeah.
Awesome. And when it comes to the cloud native space, where does sustainability fits in? Like, what is the importance of sustainability with respect to the cloud native ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the question is like, where do you draw the lines? So at the end, sustainability matters. So sustainability, as you mentioned a little bit in the beginning, there's like a lot of stuff which is connected to the word, um, and so on. What we are focusing in about, and you also mentioned this, is like the technology side, right? So if we think about like how to build like a sustainable team and so on, this also is sort of like the idea of sustainability can also be connected to this, but we are more focusing on the environment side. So we are talking mostly about energy, um, and we are also talking about the hardware resources at some point, and also what sort of the software that we use and that we run has what the impact is sort of on the environment. So if you run certain setups, architectures, which hardware setup do you need to reflect and which impact does it have on the environment? And is it worth the resources um, to run this? And the question is like, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw a line at the end? Um, on the hardware side, you have sort of the power draw and also the resources that you use. And all of this is abstracted away, especially if we are in the cloud. You have all the abstraction layers, and Kubernetes is way at the top. So it's in a way very abstracted away from the hardware resources. Of course, Kubernetes has nodes. Nodes reflect hardware resources and so on. So you can dig down the abstraction layers again to find it out. So I think in the CNCF, we are for sure not about like how to design the data center. That's not our expertise necessarily. But sort of we should be aware of the hardware resources and we should be aware as engineers that how we build our system. For example, if you have multiple zones because of security reasons, that this is for sure like a requirement and it's good. But this has also impact not just on your bill, but also on the resources that you use. That we may run also in situations where we have more energy because of renewables, right? There's an excess amount of energy and we cannot do anything good with the energy. And sometimes maybe also there is just no good weather for weeks and we have sort of like run into energy shortages, and we need to prioritize. So there's, I think, also very good reasons to think about like how can you architect a cluster to um, use these energy patterns, be more aware of the resources, um, and get like a feeling, okay, I made all of these changes. Now I require to set up all these resources, hardware resources. In the cloud, we are never really too much in touch with the hardware that we use. Usually, some are for sure, but I think the majority is not. So I think a lot of interesting questions to be asked. Yeah.
So, diverting or rather building upon whatever you've just said, right? In terms of the fact that sustainability in general is a very broad topic. And when you talk about cloud native sustainability, it's not really a very niche area as well. I mean, it is like in terms of knowledge and the fact that, people are just starting to think about it. But it's not really a very small space. There are a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. So when it comes to the tag that you both are co-chair and lead of tech lead of respectively, what are some of the goals of the tag and what is the tag responsible for? And for those who aren't aware what a tag is, it's a technical advisory group. So we're going to refer to it as tag here onward, just so you know. So what are the goals of the tag and what is the tag responsible for?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think first of all, it's like important to keep in mind that we are a community group driven by volunteers. So you don't have the same output, and you also do not have like the same work style, um, like you would maybe have like in at a company if everybody works full time and so on. And um, we set like our own agenda, right? So we talk with at KubeCon and at events like these with community members, and based on the feedback that we get, if people are opening up issues, this is like one way to sort of have impact in the tag. But we set all our own sort of goals. We think about like what our um, sort of options are. So I think like in the space you can do a lot. You have a lot of options to move forward. You can focus on cloud vendors, right? You can focus on understanding how they calculate energy consumption, maybe what their moves are to expose this information, also to Kubernetes. Maybe think about like how can you extend the Kubernetes API in some ways. You can talk with or think about tools that you can use. You can think about like observability. How can you surface all this information? Or you can think about like how can you use all this information to make actions in your cluster. So I think there's a lot of different areas where you can contribute to. And since we are kind of limited, right? Our first main goal is to talk about stuff, events like these, so that we learn more about the space, that we can educate in a way what we already know about the space or learned, or what our view is about the space, and that we can find also solutions that people work on at companies. So if they have like some kind of investigation into the topic, maybe they're running into some shortages, maybe there's like some problems with energy and so on, and that's like a major issue for some. Maybe they have like some expertise they want to share. So all this advocacy is like one topic that we started from the beginning. We started it in a working group, communications, working group comms. Everything is still like to be shaped out. So in the community, everything flows in a way. But I think like, for example, the Cloud Native Sustainability Week, which already happened last year, I think is like a good record for this. And we also started a technical project last year about measuring energy consumption of CNCF projects. It's also a working group, Green Reviews. And yeah, the objective is that eventually, sometime down the road, hopefully next year, we will have the first CNCF project measured. So we have a platform, we pull binaries, we do some benchmarking, we do observability about energy consumption, we calculate some more metrics so the maintainers know, okay, from release to release, this is like how the energy consumption changed, and hopefully they can sort of reverse engineer back to, okay, these are the things that we changed, and this impacted the energy consumption good or bad in some ways. So this is like the technical project that we started. But we also have like smaller initiatives, or I would say like time capped initiatives, which run for a month or 2 months or maybe 3 months or so. Projects. So for example, the AI sustainability white paper, which hopefully we can publish before KubeCon NA. At least that's the plan. Yeah, but also like a lot of other projects. So for example, also a project where we scrape internet websites about sustainability events just to aggregate information so people can click through some links. So a lot of these like smaller projects as well.
And that sounds fascinating. And I presume each of these working groups have like relevant Slack channels as well, which I'm sure Sayam will post more information about in the description. Um, But switching gears for just a bit, you mentioned smaller time cap projects, and I am aware that there is something called the Cloud Native Sustainability Landscape that you all recently released, right? Could you talk to that a little bit? And what are the kind of insights that you've shared there, and what is it all about?
Yeah. So the landscape, we worked on this last year, and we also published it end of last year. So it's not, I mean, it's not too old, but also not too recent. We actually right now figuring out, thinking about how to move forward with the landscape, because we feel like having an overview about cloud native projects, it's like a very holistic approach. So right now it's like a document which is 23, 5 pages or so. It's not too short, about all kinds of things, about community, groups. It's about yeah, projects that you can use. So for example, if you want to measure energy consumption, there's like a list of different tools that you can use right now in different scenarios. Kepler, for example, is one of them, or Scaphandra. So it gives like an introduction to a bunch of things. And right now we are trying to, or this has been a topic for a couple of weeks now, where we try to figure out like how to move forward with this document. What would be the best, sort of the best use of it, how to develop it further. But yeah, it's on our website, tag-environmental sustainability.cncf.io landscape, right? And it's also translated into a bunch of languages. I'm not sure if Hindi, for example, is one of them. You can change it on the top right. There's a drop down English, and there's like some other translations as well. But as you can see, you can scroll down, you can see layers of solutions, current industry research, and so on. Yeah, but as I said, we're thinking about how to move forward with this document. AI
Yeah, so
and
just to add on, so mainly someone was asking the question as well, so just want to bring that in, the sustainability tools for K8s. So yes, the landscape document has all the kind of things. So if you see, it has in the different domains, like if you see this portion, and that's the one. So from infrastructure tooling, to observability, to data centers, to different methodologies, how different tools are there. So this comes under data center, and then you have the green software, SCI index, and all these. And then for the observability section, there are a few which you can use as it is in your Kubernetes clusters as well. For example, Kepler is a one which is a very famous one, and you can use Kepler to get the workload carbon emission metrics as well, using a lot of details that there are and some of the offline and online AI models that maps the resource limit, resource usage limit to the actual carbon emissions, because as you mentioned, there is no direct mapping for the hardware and the carbon emissions, but there is a relatively a lot of metrics, which also people are working more and more to find out if that is true or if that needs some more work in future, to get the right numbers in, because these are the translations, because Kubernetes is more and more abstracted. You have to get the data, then you have to map the data, you have to enrich it with more and more information, to map it, because you cannot directly measure frequency and capacitance from the workloads that are running. So you map it, and those kinds of mapping happen using the algorithms and stuff, and giving you the actual numbers in a Prometheus format that you can then put into Grafana dashboard and visualize using different, or whatever you want to, however you want to visualize that. Then you also have all these green metrics tool, influx data, telegraph collector. You also have CADA based which gives you more information on this. That was also presented, I think one of the sessions was also presented at KubeCon Paris, if I'm not wrong. um, and then comes the infrastructure as well. Yeah, I think here you have, yeah, Kubernetes event driven auto scaling. So here comes your KDA will come over here. And yeah, so that's how the current landscape looks like, and that's what we want to revamp, to make it, more readable, more useful, and with more resources that people can use it. But yeah, to the question that Arvind asked, this is the landscape, and this has some of the tools which are already available, which are open source, and you will be able to um, use that for your current projects.
Exactly.
Cool. So coming to the next thing, which Leo touched upon a little bit already, which are the working groups. So there is this tag within CNCF, and then there are a lot of working groups within that particular tag. And as Leo mentioned, the tag itself is run by the volunteers, so there is no, like strict deadlines, or yeah, there are some deadlines to certain things within the tag, like you have to you have to fill in the annual working log or annual survey or all these things, sustainability week. These are deadline based because they happen at a certain point of time. But overall, these are voluntarily working groups that define a goal, what they mean, how do we say that this particular working group have achieved what they were intended when they were created. So Leo, what are the different working groups within the tags, and what are the key initiatives of these tags? If you can give a
Yeah.
brief summary of each one of them.
Yeah, I already mentioned. So we have two. So they're maybe one step back. So in the CNCF, we have a bunch of different tags to focus on different domains. So there's also tag security and app delivery and networking and so on. And all of these have also different working groups, right? But for us, we just have two. So but it's already bounding, I think, quite a few contributors. So the first is communications, everything around advocacy, around if we meet up at KubeCon or some other event and we want to meet up, we have a booth, we have a maintainer talk, we have the Cloud Native Sustainability Week, we have all these kinds of things. All of this, if we publish a blog post, if we want to update the website, all of this is like sort of abstracted into the working group comms. Thinking about like how we can tell user stories from companies and so on and so forth. And the other one is green reviews. So it's a technical working group. The idea is that we, as I said, measure the cloud native sustainability footprint of CNCF projects. So some contributors may know there is a website called devstats.cncf.io. It gives you, if you go to the website, a bunch of information about open commits and so on. So all kinds of different metrics about a CNCF project. And the idea is that we also enrich this with information about energy consumption and the SAI index, so carbon emissions and so on. But that's actually a substantial project because you need an entire infrastructure. You need to pull releases, you need to do benchmarking. Then the question is, okay, how do you pull releases, binaries? How do you deploy it? Where do you deploy it? Which benchmarking do you do? Does it cover all the aspects? How are like CNCF projects are very different, right? Some are about networking stuff, and some about scaling clusters, right? So how do you do different benchmarking? So it's a very, I think, a very interesting project, but it's also technically challenging. And the team is working since over a year on this. And yeah, that's just one of the diagrams. I think. Yeah. Um, right. So, in this working group, we are working towards the goal that we eventually have the ability that maintainers can hook into this platform. We measure energy consumption, and they can make adjustment based on this. So that's basically the first goal, right? You first need to be aware of any kind of metrics, right? So if you have knowledge about something, you can do something about it. And right now, maintainers do not have a lot of knowledge because the entire area is also new. But also, it's not so straightforward to get these information right, and not every maintainer in the CNCF can just spin up an entire infrastructure just to measure the energy consumption based on benchmarking in different environments, right? Um, but it would be good. And in the CNCF, we have the community is large enough, interested enough into pushing this forward, and that's what we do in the tag. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so I have posted the link of the dev stats as well, and the one that I'm showing right now, which is the green reviews working group, and you can get involved with with the green review working group, and this is the much more technical part of it, and you can see a lot of issues that needs help, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's much more technical, and it's very cool project out there that is worth talking about. And yes, we'll be talking about green reviews project at KubeCon NA as well. So um, definitely, if you are attending in person, then we can chat more about this.
You will talk about it, I am right? You're one of them.
Yeah,
Yes, and I think Malo as well. Yeah,
Marlo and myself will be talking about that.
great. Very good.
I have a quick question here because both of y'all are, co-chair. I mean, both of y'all are leading the group in some form or another. I know that we touched upon, a lot of areas within the tag and a lot of working groups. We also saw the Slack channels that Sayam put up, but how do you exactly start contributing, and what are some of the opportunities that are available right now to participate? Because uh, the very first question that I potentially get asked is, how do we start contributing? So if there is like a specific set of things that you all really are looking for help with, um, and if you can shed light on this live stream about that, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the thing is about open source, it's usually always very self-driven, right? You need to have like very there's nobody in the tag usually that pings you and says like uh, you have stop contributing where you are, right? That's not really happening because like everybody is usually also very busy with the jobs and so on, right? And it's also you're not signing a contract to contribute. So I think that's if you don't know a lot about like how to contribute to open source, I think this is like a very important part because if you show up at a meeting and learn something about the community and nobody comes back to you and says like um, where you are next time, usually that's because um, you first need to get involved in the community and then stick around and so on and get to know the community, and nobody is telling you to do certain things. It's like self motivating in a way, right? Usually in those meetings you have a bunch of open threads, so we pull up a bunch of open discussions. So for example, in one of the working groups, some are technical, some are more about organizational stuff, some maybe are also about governance things with the CNCF, right? So a bunch of different open topics. And then it's also a bit up to you where you sort of respond to, right? Because nobody is sort of your team lead, your boss telling you we need support in this team. It's more that we, I mean, that's like always the case. Like in open source, you always require a bit more hands on deck. Um, but it's more, we share a bunch of open topics where we require attention. So, for example, in working group green reviews, benchmarking is a topic which we are working on right now. So understanding like which uh, benchmarking makes sense and so on and so forth. And this is what you will basically learn if you attend our meetings or if you browse through issues, that you see, okay, there is basically traffic happening. Yeah. And like in general, at least in the CNCF and also in the tag, everything is managed in a way over Slack. So if you join these Slack channels, you're very good set up in terms of getting to know like what is happening. So if you want to follow along, that's a very good, that's the best way to do it. And also everything is driven by GitHub repositories and issues. So if there's like some topic that has, so for example, if the Cloud Native Sustainability Week in general, right? This entire topic is tracked by one issue, tracking issue, and there are a bunch of sub issues for each meetup. So if you are interested in contributing to one specific thing, you can either open up an issue or look for the issue, browse through the repository, um, join the Slack channel, join the meeting, and then sort of find out for yourself like what your interests are and then contribute back. And in the community, it's driven by the community. So just because of that, we are open to all kinds of different things that relate to cloud native sustainability. And if you're interested in one particular area, that's great. Yeah.
And I think as you attend more meetings and you read through more Slack threads, to be really honest, you will get the hang of it, but it takes a lot of persistent efforts from your side to
Yeah.
actually get through to the other side, because it's not going to be a one stop sort of an effort. Like if you go there and you show up, your job's done. No, you have to constantly keep showing up and doing the work, so that you're able to contribute effectively. But
Yeah.
that's just my 2 cents.
No, for
um
sure. It's a
Sayam,
marathon. Yeah.
yeah, and Sayam, do you have anything else to add from your
Yeah.
experience as a tech lead?
I think that's the point that you just mentioned is actually valid for everything in open source at first, especially within the Kubernetes ecosystem, because the project is so huge. Although the sustainability is not that huge, so you just join the Slack, attend a first few meetings, and you'll get to know, what everything is all about, what we are talking about, what are the working groups, what are some of the updates on the working group, where they are, and where the help is needed. So you'll get the gist of, okay, these are the areas where some of the help is needed, and then this is the area where maybe I feel a bit more comfortable contributing, whether it's GitHub Actions, whether it's programming language, whether it's documentation, whatever that is. And this is where, or whether it's communication or comms or governance, like Leo mentioned. So all of these areas, where would you actually want to contribute? Because the problem is, the time that is being invested in the whole tag and the working groups is the personal extra time that people devote to open source, and it's not something that is, some your company is telling you, organization or your boss, nobody's telling you to do that, and you're not getting anything to do that. But on the other side, let me tell you the benefits of doing it. One, there is always recognition within CNCF. Like there is a path. So you can be a working group member, then you can be working group lead, you can be working group chair, you can be a tag lead, you can be the tag chair, and then you also get the opportunities to speak at the maintainer sessions, the KubeCons. So there are benefits if you keep on contributing and you keep on climbing up the ladder, just by keep showing the contributions. so those are some of the additional benefits that you get, and also you become part of the community. Also, you are doing something out of the passion. If you always wanted to do something in the sustainability ecosystem, because I hear that a lot from people. They are here because they always wanted to do something when they think about sustainability, but they have not been able to do sitting at home. But now this gives you to do something while sitting at home as well. So it's something that is driving people to kind of do it. And many people join because of this reason. So it's out of passion. Especially this domain is very interesting because this is something which has both sides, like political and non-political. So this one covers the non-political side of things, which is even more interesting. Like, you have very good people who are leading the group, you have very good people who are volunteering to do something, and then you, because out of the passion they want to do something. So yeah, that would be something, that just join the Slack channel, go through the issues, find your passion, where would you want to do, or even propose a new working group. Maybe you propose something very interesting, a new working group with new set of goals, and you want to work towards that particular thing. That is not a problem at all. Maybe you are willing to start an open source project to capture some additional metrics for a particular resource, whether it's hardware, whether it's GPUs, whatever that is. So there are stuff that can be done, there is stuff that needs to be done. uh, and also, one thing is, there's something which is called green foundation as well, which is the Green Software Foundation Hub, which is also there. And there is tag CNCF, which caters to the cloud native ecosystem. So there are a lot of ways in the software ecosystem where you can get involved with respect to sustainability. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
And I think with that we can open to Q&A, because I think we wrapped up pretty much all the areas that we wanted to cover with respect to tag environment sustainability, right? I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, since y'all are the SMEs here. So, are there any areas that we have left to cover, or can we open it up to Q&A?
I think we can for sure. One thing maybe about blog posts. So I mean, it's now like a couple of months old, but we um, published a blog post about the working group green reviews, and also I think a couple of months before that about contributing to the tag, or like a tag overview. So these are also very good first sources to get information about the work.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's another area. Yeah.
And I mean, with open source, you always, I mean, it's good to just um, like join a couple of meetings. And for some folks, it's maybe not the style of work, how it is. Um, but I think I mean, it's like very, for some, and I mean, for myself, for example, I think it's very, very nice just to contribute like in a global community to do something together, push this space forward. I think it's very important, or it has sort of at least the sort of the perspective. Eventually, uh, it needs to be part of software. I think, to think about resources more, and to think about energy consumption and so on, that we get a better feeling. So I think like what you mentioned, Sam, about passion. I think that's 100% what it is, right? You need to be passionate about what you do, and then it takes a long time, right? So I started contributing 4 years ago or something. So it takes a long time to get into the mix and to get used to it, but it's very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
If anybody has any questions, please drop us in the chat. If not, then feel free to reach us out on the Slack channel, the CNCF Slack channel, or you can also comment below the stream. But I hope you got the gist of what CNCF Tag Sustainability is, why this group was formed, what are the different working groups within the tag, and how you can get involved within this. And there is a landscape. There are some existing tools that you can use for your existing projects as well. And you can find some of the people from the tag at KubeCons. Usually, some people definitely will be attending some of the KubeCons. There are a few people. I think there will be a kiosk booth as well, right? In the Project Pavilion area, we'll be having a booth as well, if I'm not wrong, and people can drop in there as well if they have any stuff they want to talk about the sustainable ecosystem with in the CNCF and how they can get involved. Well, awesome. So we don't have any questions. I think we covered everything. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for coming to the first stream for the Sustainability Week. Make sure to check out the Sustainability Mini Conference, which is tomorrow, and make sure I'll drop the link as well in the chat. Make sure to attend the all the events which are local to your areas. You can find that on the tag sustainability event, which is this link. So you'll be able to find what events are happening local to you, and if you want to attend those, make sure to do attend those. um, and and yeah, if you're at KubeCon NA, feel free to meet us. I'll be there. Leo won't be there.
No,
But yeah, we'll be having
unfortunately not.
we'll be having a few folks. Um, yeah, it's fun. And tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow make sure to attend because we'll be talking about WebAssembly and sustainability, another interesting topic, and we'll see how WebAssembly helps in creating some of the sustainable architectures and reducing the carbon footprint overall. Um, so cool, awesome. Thank you so much for watching the stream, and see you tomorrow, same time, 9 a.m. PT. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Bye.
folks. Bye.
Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.